Hello.
Hello, Brian.
How you doing? Is this Zach?
Yeah, this is Zach. How you doing, man?
I'm good.
Awesome. So, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly. Am I okay?
Yes, perfect, man.
Excellent.
All right.
Excellent.
So tell us, man, what's going on in the world of Diamond Head?
Okay. We've managed to get this album out this year in order to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the release of Lightning to the Nations. That original debut album came out in 1980, and so last year we suggested we thought about re-recording it from now, for the modern sound and modern technology and high gain amps and etc. And so we made a start, and we've managed to get it done this year and finish it off whilst in lockdown. And I'm really, really glad that we did, and we took this idea and ran with it, because otherwise Diamond Head would have done nothing for the rest of the year. Our last gig was March the 8th, when we did some dates in Europe with Saxon and some on our own. But everything we had booked for the year, festivals and tours, and we had a cruise booked, and we were going to go to South America for the first time, and it all got cancelled or postponed to 2021. So if it hadn't been for this album coming out, then we wouldn't be talking right now, and there'd been very little going on probably in the world of Diamond Head.
Well, that's really cool that you guys were able to take this opportunity to do this, man. I mean, this record, the re-recording of this classic album, man, it sounds amazing. I love it, dude.
Thank you very much. A lot of the work is down to our singer Raz, who produced it and mixed it, and so he put the time in, the work in. Once we'd recorded our parts, then he was able to, put it all together, and he has to take a lot of the credit. So I will pass on your thanks. I'll pass on your compliments.
Thank you, man. Looking back, guys, it was 30 years ago when Lightning to the Nations came out.
40.
What was it?
40 years ago.
Oh, 40 years ago. Jesus. It's even longer
Before you were born.
Looking back on that, I mean, did you guys have any idea that it would have had the impact that it has had now to this day?
No, absolutely not. I had no idea. I didn't even know that you could sort of have a career this long, kind of thing. Back in 1980, it appeared to me that a band would have a few years in the spotlight, and you may have a career that lasted 10 years or something. A lot of even a band like Led Zeppelin only lasted 12 years, really. So I had no idea that we'd be, 40 years later, still talking about Diamond Head, still talking about the debut album that was, Lightning to the Nations was recorded and mixed in a week. And now, it's become this influential album. It's become an important album in the new wave of British heavy metal and the sort of history of metal. And when we recorded it, we literally had no idea that people would even like it, really. And the weird thing was, we couldn't even get a record deal with it. So, nobody was that interested in it. I think, the fans liked it, but we couldn't get a record deal. And there was no press like there is now, with all these metal magazines and websites, etc. And only one paper reviewed the album when it came out in 1980, a paper in the UK called Sounds. That's the only review I ever saw.
Wow.
Crazy. Times have changed.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of influential, I am like a lot of people. I didn't even hear about you guys until I got into Metallica, and you know the cover of "Am I Evil," and then I was reading the credits in the album, and I saw Diamond Head. I'm like, what is this Diamond Head? You know, I had to check it out. Well, how did that? How did you guys feel when you first heard about that, or how did you first hear about that, and what did you think of it?
The Metallica cover, you mean?
Yeah.
I think we first heard about it probably '84. Then, obviously, Lars was a friend by this point, and he'd been over, and he'd written a letter to me, and he said he'd got this band called Metallica, etc. And then he got in touch and said they wanted to cover the Am I Evil, and could I send over the lyrics? So I got the lyrics and I faxed them over to Lars, who'd by now probably be living in San Francisco, and then he sent a copy of the Creeping Death 12-inch single to me. It was on Music for Nations, and Metallica, the first band ever to cover a Diamond Head song. So I was very flattered, but I didn't have a clue of the long term what this actually meant to Diamond Head and to my finances and to the potential that was coming down the pipeline, and that they would eventually cover 4 Diamond Head songs. So I had no idea. I just thought it was really flattering, and I was very impressed that they'd covered it and I'd gone to the trouble of working out the solo and the words and just getting it as good as possible. And it's a very powerful, as you know, Metallica are a very powerful band, so they kind of made it more powerful and toughened it up a little bit.
Yeah, I love their version, but I mean, when I heard the original, I was blown away, man. I couldn't believe that something like this had flown under my radar, that I didn't know about it.
Well, it was very underground. As I say, we couldn't get a record deal, and we ended up pressing 1,000 copies ourselves on vinyl, and then a second pressing of 1,000, and it didn't really come out on CD until the mid-'80s, and by then the band had sort of fell apart, and we were only on a little independent label. I think eventually Metal Blade picked it up in the US, but over here it came out on like a weird label called Metal Masters or something, and I don't know what's happened to them. I think they went bust. But it didn't have any push, there was no promotion behind it, or I wasn't doing interviews with people like yourself, like I'm doing now.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm sure somebody's probably selling some of those original copies on Discogs for some unreal price,
Well, at least £100 a copy. I know. I've got about 3 copies stashed away for my old age.
Hell yeah. So going back, what were some of the influences that got you into playing music, that got you started?
Okay, so I was lucky enough to have an older brother who's 6 years older than me, and he had a good taste in music, and so he would bring albums home, and he would buy Black Sabbath and Zeppelin, and then I got into Richie Blackmore after listening to Deep Purple, probably in rock, and then I bought Machine Head. Led Zeppelin 2 was the first album I ever bought, and Machine Head was the second album I ever bought. So I got off to a good start there. And then as bands came through the Midlands here in the UK, I would often go and see bands. I saw Sabbath, I saw Judas Priest, UFO, AC/DC, Van Halen, Rush, etc. And so, I'm just this huge music fan, a teenage, kid who's growing up wanting to maybe learn to play the guitar, wanting to be in a band, and soaking up all these fantastic 70s bands that were about, and kind of wanting to do something along the same lines.
Hell yeah. The name Diamond Head, how did you guys come up with that?
I came up with that. I just purely stole it from I had a poster. There was a record shop in the town where I live, Stourbridge, and they used to throw out the old posters, and they'd put them in the box by the window sometimes, and people could help themselves to the promotional posters, you know. So anyway, this album had come out in 1975 called Diamond Head by Phil Manzanero, who was a guitarist in Roxy Music, and I had this poster. There was a big train on the cover, and I cut the name out and stuck it on the wall. And at the time, there was just myself and the drummer Duncan Scott, and it was a bedroom band, you know, myself and Duncan on the biscuit tins. And but we came up with that name, or I suggested Diamond Head would be a good name for the band, and Duncan agreed, and that was it. I just stuck with that. After a few trial and errors, eventually I thought, yeah, Diamond Head's a good name. Let's do that. It was a very innocent time, and I'm glad we did. I think it's a really good name.
Now on Lightning to the Nations 2020, I noticed you do some covers on this record too. And one that caught my eye immediately was your cover of Metallica's No Remorse. Mm-hmm. As soon as I played that on the radio show, everybody just lost their minds. They were like, wow, this is amazing. And I was like, I know, man. Right. Has I'm sure Metallica's heard it by now. Have they given you any feedback on that?
Well, I know Lars has heard it. I sent Lars a file about 2 months ago, and he sent me a text, and he said he was really honoured that Diamond Head had covered a Metallica song, and he said, so it comes full circle. Yeah. And yeah, he really loved it, and he's a big fan of our singer Raz, because of course Raz is Danish and he's Danish, and so he was intrigued to know where he lived, and you know, how come he's in the band, and how did I find him, and things like that. But yes, Lars really liked it, and yeah, I don't know about the other guys yet. I've sent over a copy of the album, but I haven't had any feedback yet from anybody else in the band. But I think we've done a good job. I think we've done a respectful version of their 1983 classic.
Yeah, definitely. Now, as far as for all the gearheads out there, I know they probably want to know like what kind of equipment you guys were using on the recording of this. How did you get the guitar sounds and stuff that are on this record? Okay, well, this was done in a different way to what we normally do because of lockdown. How we did this one is we recorded the drums first, before lockdown, of course. We got the drums down. Carl lives in France, our drummer, and then Raz produced it, as I say. He's got his home studio in his flat in London. I went down and recorded the guitars over a weekend, and all we would do is record the DI. We'd capture the DI, and I'd just monitor with his Axe FX 2. But fully intended to replace the guitars. Then Abs did the same, the other guitar player. And then as we went into lockdown, we realised, we're not going to be able to go to a studio and reamp everything. That was the plan, there's a studio ran by us where we could have used the DIs. Once everything had been edited, we could reamp everything. I've got a nice Cornford amp, which is what I used on the last album. But all that went out the window. So Raz said, well, I'll do it all here. And he's got this little amp called a Driftwood Mini Nightmare. And he used that with his Box of Doom, which is like an isolation cab. It's like a speaker in a flight case, and you mic it up, and so all the guitars were reamped that way, and the bass, and
and then Raz was just left to do vocals and mix the album all at home. And we had this deadline that we had to, in order to get it out this year, we have to have it ready by the end of July. So that became our goal, and fortunately we got it all done in time, under lockdown, and we're able to get the album out this year and able to, to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the release of, the original album, and now this album for 2020.
Wow. Well, it sounds amazing, man. We really love it.
Thank you.
Now, looking back, going back to 1980 when you guys were starting, and obviously that's now looked at as the new wave of British heavy metal. Back then, did you guys realize like what was going on as far as that scene, or was it talked about, or is that more of something that was just came about later on down the road?
It surprised us. So, the band Diamond Head was formed in 1976, and we weren't really aware of all the other bands. We didn't know there was a band in Barnsley called Saxon, and there was a band in Wakefield called Vardis. We just knew about our little town, Stourbridge, and then probably a couple of bands around the Midlands. Birmingham had a band called Crier, and there was a band called Quartz, etc. But once Sounds made this huge feature in 1979 of this thing called the New Wave of British Heavy Metal, and they featured Angel Witch and Samson and Def Leppard, and we just thought, wow, this is perfect timing for us. With the right age, we're playing the right kind of music, we look right, we've got all these songs, let's go. So we'd made a demo tape in possibly early 1979, and we sent it down to Jeff Barton at Sounds, and he put it in his playlist. So that was very exciting. And then we would get on like local radio, and we even had a little slot on a local TV channel where we played 2 songs, and that's still available on YouTube. We did Helpless and Streets of Gold. But yeah, once the new wave of British heavy metal sort of put everybody under the same umbrella, and we realised there's all these other bands around the country doing something similar, but uniquely, all sounding different. It was an exciting time, and of course I and many others want to go and then see these bands that are being featured, and we would get dates all over the UK on the back of the exposure that we would get in this in Sounds and through the new wave of British heavy metal. It just became, a cool thing, and everybody was talking about it, and you'd then reel off the bands you'd like, and you'd be looking to buy singles and anything that was available.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, and speaking of the new wave of British heavy metal, now currently there's a new genre, I guess you could call it, called the new wave of traditional heavy metal, where you have all these bands coming out now that are bringing out that sound that you guys were all a part of back then, and they're bringing it back. Are you aware of that?
Not really. I've not even heard that term, the new wave of traditional heavy metal. I've not really heard that term. I mean, I do occasionally come across a band who sound very, retro, 70s, and I don't mind, but I think it's slightly weird. When Diamond Head started, I don't think we were looking back. I think, yes, we've been influenced by the 70s bands, but I wanted to go forward. I wasn't interested in the blues and rock and roll or anything that had gone before. I was interested in doing something very new and exciting, and move rock forward if possible. Not just take from it, but give something back. And I think we, Diamond Head probably cherry picked from lots of bands and used little bits of this and that, and sort of came up with our own style and our own sound by just being, huge music fans, and and trying to move forward, trying not to just repeat what had been done, but actually progress.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right now it definitely seems like a lot of people are looking back to the history. And as far as your sound, I hear it all the time when I'm listening to newer bands. I hear that Diamond Head sound in it, and I'm like, yeah, they've got to be influenced by them for sure.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, it's good. It's good that we can still be influential. Better than being ignored, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, speaking of moving forward, what kind of plans do you guys have for the future, if you have any? I mean, I know it's kind of crazy right now with the pandemic and everything, but...
It is crazy right now. It's in April. We're out in the UK. We're playing April. We're playing all over the UK and Scotland and Wales. We're playing up to the end of May. We've got 3 dates with Saxon in the UK, 3 big dates, London, Apollo, Glasgow, Barrowlands and Manchester O2. And then beyond that, we've got festivals that were cancelled this year, like Bloodstock, for example, and then they've just been bumped forward to 2021. So all that will happen throughout the summer. And that's the main thing at the moment. I've been writing songs whilst in lockdown, whilst I couldn't, meet up with the guys. We're all, sort of forbidden to get together, aren't we, at the moment? A lot of bands just can't even rehearse or write together or anything. It's a real shame. But I've got a little home studio, so I thought the most constructive thing I can do is just knuckle down and try and write some new songs, and I've been doing that since March. So I've got a lot of good material that will come out when we can actually work on it. When we can get together, and sometime next year we can make a start and start working on vocals and arrangements. But it may not come out till 2022 at this rate. Who knows?
Yeah. Speaking of the pandemic, how have you guys been affected, and what is it like there in your area?
It's horrible. I can't see friends. I can't go to the pub. We can't go to restaurants. You're very, very limited to what you can do. It's frustrating. It really is. I'm constantly trying to find things to do. I have been for months. So, you do the normal things, like you do the garden and you do a bit of decorating and things. But mainly, I've still got music, thankfully, so I can practice the guitar. I can try and write songs. I can make demos. I can't do much beyond that.
So fans can definitely look forward to a new Diamond Head record at some point in the next couple of years.
100%. We're definitely going to do another record. It's just a case of pandemic permitting.
Awesome. Another question: what kind of bands music do you listen to now?
I'm still a bit of a 70s guy. I still listen to old bands. I think when you're a teenager, the influences that move you, that excite you, stay with you. Once I got into rock, it's never left me. So I've been listening to rock bands for 45 years at least, and I still enjoy it. I still, Zeppelin are still my favourite band, and I'll still listen to AC/DC or, Deep Purple or, all these classic 70s bands. I mean, I like some new bands, bands have come up over the years that I've got into, like, for example, Rage Against the Machine or Muse or Faith No More, or as they appear, Nirvana. I can often get into a new band. These days, I like, it's a band from the UK called the Amazons. I quite like Idols, Hailstorm. It's some bands that get on the radar, and I think, oh, there's something there, or it's very often I like a singer. I'm always I've got my ear open for a good singer. I know a good singer when I hear one.
Awesome. All right, well, Brian, I'm about out of questions for you. Is there anything else you want to let your fans know?
Just hope people get a chance to listen to the new version of Lightning to the Nations, and hope they enjoy the covers that were, bands and songs that I've really loved over the years, and the opportunity to record them with this lineup was very special to me, and I think they sound great. I think Raz is a fantastic singer, and he has done them proud. So it'll just be fabulous to be back on the road, to be able to play, not only our songs, but maybe do a couple of the covers, and just get back to enjoying what we all love doing.
Awesome. All right, well, before I let you go, can I get you to make us a station tag?
Absolutely.
All right, whenever you're ready, say something like, "This is Brian from Diamond Head, and you're listening to Metal Devastation Radio."
Okay. Hello, this is Brian from Diamond Head, and you're listening to Metal Devastation Radio.
Awesome. All right, well, thanks a lot for taking the time to talk to me, Brian, and it was really a pleasure, man.
You're welcome, Zach.
And hopefully we'll look forward to hearing a new record at some point soon in the future, and we'll keep cranking this one up for you, okay?
Okay, that sounds great to me. I can't wait to do a new one as well.
All right, cheers, man.
Thank you. Bye.
There you have it, folks. Diamond Head on the Zach Moonshine Show with Metal Devastation motherfucking Radio.